AJ Lee is returning to wrestling. Plus, Chris Jericho attempted to bring a top New Japan guy to AEW. And AEW reveal a new championship. It's in the wrestling news right now. AJ Lee is back. So this was the one that a lot of people were talking about, like CM Punk's back now. AJ Lee returned when?
CM Punk kind of took to Twitter, didn't he, to be like, no, if she can't wrestle and she can't be cleared, then don't pressure. Like, I'm happy for her to just be carrying on and she's having a good time. And now she's back.
They worked us. So it was last night in Vegas that the WoW Women of Wrestling had a big press event to announce the reboot of WoW coming next year. And it featured the WoW and LA Lakers owner, Jeannie Buss, the original creator of WoW and Glow, David McLean, Tessa Blanchard and The Beast were there, as well as among other WoW talent. And of course, the new exec producer and color commentator for WoW, AJ Mendez, aka AJ Lee. Okay, welcome back. Lee is been away from wrestling since 2015 when she retired from WWE. She's been writing comics, she's been writing books, she's been a mental health advocate, and now she's involved in this, which launches on Viacom CBS stations, syndicated in the US next year. It was, I think, watching the press stuff, I think we have to talk about the Tessa Blanchard in the room.
Yeah.
Because I think a lot has been said, and I kind of watched that and seeing the return of AJ Lee, the excitement around sort of the reboot, the rebrand of WoW, and then sort of Tessa Blanchard and some of the baggage that comes with having Tessa Blanchard there as well right now.
Yeah.
Kind of watched it, like, my brain thought I was eating a Tang Fastic. It was just a bit
kind of... Is this the second time they've relaunched WoW?
Oh, it's about the 37th
Yeah, because I remember definitely WoW back in the day. If you can find some of their shows, they had some crazy gimmicks. But the production, they always tried to go as big as they could with the production. And then eventually it kind of settled into a rhythm. But it's something that I think, the world is in dire need of. And I think that in terms of, if we need another wrestling promotion, then why not WoW?
Yeah.
I think because it's yet another good place for female talent to properly cut their teeth and make a name for themselves.
Big fan of the new logo, which is basically a retread of the Glow logo.
Yeah.
But the other logo was a bit busy.
Oh, the one with the wow and the kind of silhouette of a woman either kind of going or...
It was just, this is nice and clean. I like it a lot. So that's next year, and it's their biggest TV deal. They're going to be syndicated across the Viacom CBS stations. That's a big platform for people to jump onto. From CBS to TBS, let's talk about a brand new championship in AEW. So credit to Andrew Zarian off of Mattman.
Yes.
Mattman, who was the Mattman, who is the lesser known superhero. And because he said a few weeks ago on the show with Denise Salcedo that the next title they were going to introduce was a secondary women's title called the TBS Championship.
Yes.
What did we get last night, Sam?
The TBS Championship, which is a secondary women's title.
Tournament kicking off in January. Thoughts?
I like the TNT Championship, and this is very similar to the TNT Championship, very similar plate design. It's got a blue banner instead of a red banner, and instead of obviously the TNT logo, you have the TBS logo. My only gripe with it is that both these belts, there's just that kind of ring, isn't there, where you've got like, I don't know why I'm doing that, like you guys can see me better. You've kind of got the faceplate of the belt, and then you've got all the patterning around it and all of the kind of stuff. And then it's just this sort of flat disc and then the logo. But I think it's just my eye. I think it's my problem.
I thought that...
They're beautiful belts. They are beautiful belts. It's just that weird little circle in the middle.
Doesn't quite sit right.
It's just kind of like, I don't know even if it's a it's not a problem. It's just sort of like, I'm like, why is that so shiny and everything else is like all patterned? But they're beautiful belts.
Yeah, and it's symmetrical with
some of the best belts in wrestling today are in AEW right now. And they're not just big logos, which is nice.
Yeah, I mean, I'm somewhat...
And these are entirely big logos, but done right.
Done very right. Early days, because no tournament competitors have been announced. They probably won't be for a little while. But who do we reckon in amongst all that could become champion? I'm gonna bet the farm. If I had a farm, I'll bet the band The Farm that sang All Together now on Jade Cargill.
Jay Cargill's a great
Cargill
shout.
should have that.
Until the tournament's announced, because it's like how, it's kicking off in January. So much could change before January. We could be in a completely different status quo.
Oh gosh, there's another band. Jay Cargill. I mean, potentially by January there could be a very different shake-up. Jay Cargill could be already the women's champion in the company. We could have Abaddon bleeding on a nice belt.
Abaddon would be great.
I love Abaddon.
Amazing.
Love Abaddon. I want to interview her, but she frightens me. Not in a sexy way all the time. But yes, we'll find out January the 5th, 2022. I tell you, we're talking about changing the status quo. Jericho chatting on Reinvented with Jen Eckhart about a New Japan star he wants to bring in.
Yes, he said, I'd love to see Will, brackets Ospreay, in AEW. I actually called him way back when we were first starting out to see what kind of interest he had. There will come a time when Will decides he wants to work in his own country. I know he's English, but in America, that idea is more similar to England than Japan is. There's something to be said about being a worldwide television superstar. You don't get that working for New Japan Pro Wrestling. It's great to be there, but the real big leagues lie in America. I'd love to see Will working in America, and I think that at some point, that'll probably happen. And yeah, it's going to happen. It's happened before, it'll happen again.
It really will. I like how Jericho corrected himself. He said, Will wants to work in his own country.
Now, I know he's
England,
English, but America is basically English.
I went over to England. Why do you guys speak English for once? Will in AEW.
It's a no-brainer. I think, Will Ospreay is such a commodity that even if it's a forbidden door trade-off, and it's not like a permanent move initially, I think we're going to see at least some kind of interaction with Will and AEW soon, and then maybe one day down the line we might see him fully go over. But it just depends what his thoughts are on New Japan, right? Because if he wants to stay in New Japan, he's going to stay there. It feels like a different world out there, like it really does. And the talents we spoke to when we were there were all kind of like, nah, I like Japan. I don't really want to go work anywhere else. Like this is, this is it for me. This is the big leagues for me. This is where I'm happiest, and it's where I'll work for the rest of my career. And it's like, oh, okay, that's really cool. Like I wasn't expecting that kind of response. So there is that kind of loyalty over there. But I would see Ospreay, but look at the talent the guy's got. He's going to be a household name at some point, so it may as well be sooner rather than later, right?
Bear in mind that, you say you can't be a star in Japan. They put Bob Sapp on a bus.
Yeah.
So you certainly can. Certainly can. Hey, let's talking of fighters. Let's talk about a UFC star who's rocking up in AEW next week. So we've seen him around as part of America's Top Team. America's Top Teen is a reality show I'm working on. UFC star Junior Dos Santos is who
it sounds all kinds of wrong.
America's Top Teen.
America's Top Teen.
America's Top Teen Wolf.
As judged by Tom Campbell.
Yeah, no one needs that. America's Top Teen Wolf, though.
It'll be Tom Campbell's America's Top Team.
Me looking sad eating a Greggs on the posters. And on the buses next to Bob
Shouting
Sapp.
at some 15-year-olds.
Work harder, children!
Crumbs just coming out of your mouth.
Work harder. I'm calling corporate. Next week on Saturday Dynamite, the Inner Circle taking on the Men of the Year and former UFC star Junior Dos Santos.
I'm enjoying this little dynamic they've got going on. I think it's been a more novel way to work with MMA stars than just kind of the weird way WWE handles it. Where it's just kind of, sometimes it gets mentioned, sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes it's like a big deal, sometimes they kind of drop the ball with it a bit, like Cain Velasquez, and the whole situation kind of falls apart, and it's like, I'm all for this. I'm all for this, and I quite enjoy the idea of having that crossover because MMA is the most popular combat sport going right now, and there's going to be some crossover appeal. So
100%.
Yeah.
Wish him well, and you know what? And in a 6-man tag as well, you're not throwing yourself into. You're not going to be exposed
and that's
too much.
Yeah, you can kind of get in. You can be the beast. You can tag out.
Santos said to ESPN, very different than MMA is wrestling, but just as exciting. The reactions from the fans are amazing. I'm having a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to kicking Jericho and Hager's asses next week. Good lad. Fine Alamo, a former WWE star. We talk about the WWE way of doing things. A former WWE champion returning in a backstage role. Former tag team champion. Was he an intercontinental champion, or have I made that up in my brain?
I don't know if he was.
Well, either way, in my brain, he now has been. Congratulations. Kenny Dykstra.
Kenny bloody Dykstra.
Kenny Doan. Rehired by WWE. He's going to be a coach for the Performance Center. How is he 35? How is he 35?
There's no way that man's only 5 years older than me.
I'm checking.
There is no way that Kenny Dykstra is only 5 years older than me.
I'm checking that now. I'm calling corporate.
There's no way. It's like Rene Dupree, though, isn't it? I'm like sat looking at Rene Dupree, and he's like a few years older than me, and it's like, what?
16th of March, 1986. He's 35. I've done nothing with my life.
I thought I was. I feel like I was like 10 when he was wrestling.
So was he, apparently. He joined WWE in 06. So he would have been like early 20s.
What?
Barely out of his 20s.
I mean, they got called up, right? And then they got sent all the way back to OVW in the box.
Shipped back to OVW when he was a member of the Spirit Squad. And the little run as Kenny Dykstra.
35.
I know, right? We had a Spirit Squad reunion in 2016. He announced in 2021 he was going to retire at 35!
35.
Imagine retiring at 35, what a dream. But he's back within the system, and he's a coach now as part of the Performance Center. He's been there for a couple of weeks.
35.
I always feel worrisome and sad when I hear somebody like that. I go, oh wow, you've done so much.
Yeah, like I've done nothing. I managed to get myself out of bed and have a shower this morning, and look at you, 35 years old.
I played Lemmings on my phone for an hour and a half yesterday. I feel like, but then like Kenny Dykstra's had a whole wrestling career and retired from it.
Yeah.
Should have played less Lemmings. Twitch.tv/Cultaholic. Sam Driver is on later today.
We're doing a bit of a double feature tonight using Amazon's Watch Party feature or Watch Along feature on Twitch. So if you have Amazon Prime, you're going to be able to tune in. We're going to watch some films together. Couple of naff horror films, yeah?
Midnight double.
It is Spooktober, Tom.
Oh, Midnight Double Picture feature show. That's where we go. 6 p.m. British summertime. More news as we get it throughout the day at cultaholic.com. Stay safe. Love you. Bye.